From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun. Hello and welcome tonight. Troubled by escalating violence in Kwara South, the Senate summons the Minister of Defense, the Chief of Army Staff, and the Inspector General of Police to explain government's countermeasures. The House of Representatives rejects a U.S. congressional bill implying Nigeria's insecurity is religiously driven or state-backed. The World Bank estimates that 139 million Nigerians live in poverty, despite positive outcomes from government's macroeconomic reforms. And former FBI Director James Comey pleads not guilty to charges of lying to Congress and obstructing investigations.
And on business, Nigeria is poised for markets comeback as FTSE considers frontier status reclassification.
Sports news tonight. Super Eagles players in confident mood ahead of Friday's crucial World Cup qualifier against Lesotho in Polokwane.
And from the nation's capital, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike warns against random street naming, urges honors only for contributors to Nigeria's development.
We begin from the National Assembly, and the Senate has summoned the Minister of Defense, Mr. Mohammed Badaru, the Chief of Army Staff, and the Inspector General of Police to appear before it and brief lawmakers on the federal government's response to the growing violence in the Kwara South Senatorial District, a situation that has left the lawmakers pretty much worried. Now, the resolution followed the adoption of a motion sponsored by the Deputy Senate Leader, Senator Oyinlola Ashuru, on the urgent need to address insecurity in the district, particularly in Ifelodun local government. Our National Assembly correspondent, Gloria Mezoke, reports.
Lawmakers convene on the second legislative day of the week with a number of high-profile guests present to witness the swearing-in of two new senators by the Senate President after over a year of vacancy. The Senate temporarily relaxed its rules to admit them.
I bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The swearing-in of Senator Joseph Ikpeya, representing Edo Central, and Senator Emmanuel Nwachukwu from Apga, representing Anambra South Senatorial District, follows the recent by-elections conducted to fill two vacant seats previously held by Governor Monday Okpebolo of Edo State and Senator Ifeanyi Uba, who passed on in July 2024.
I must say that we have given you two items today. One is the Nigerian Constitution, which you must try to imbibe the contents. The second one that we have given you, which you must start reading from today, is the Senate Standing Orders 2023 as amended.
Minutes after, the chamber erupted into an uproar as the Senate President announced the defection of yet another lawmaker to the ruling All Progressives Congress.
I want a strong and vibrant opposition in Nigeria, but where they are not able to organize themselves and all the political parties are in tatters, then the right thing for them to do is to join me and join Mr. President so that we can together move this country forward.
For the rest of us that are here, Mr. President, we are satisfied that we are still here, and we will try to remain here until 2027.
In the meantime, the wave of killings, kidnappings, and armed banditry became a focal point as Senator Lola Ashiru raises alarm. The Senate therefore adopted a number of resolutions, including establishing a military base in Ifelodun local government area in Kwara South.
Mandate the Senate to invite the Minister of Defense, Chief of Army Staff, and Inspector General of Police to brief the Senate in plenary on the coordinated federal response to insecurity in Kwara and other areas so affected Those in support of prayer 4 as amended say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Like the House, President Bola Tinubu has sought approval from the Senate to borrow $2.35 billion in external capital to finance part of the 2025 budget deficit and refinance Nigeria's maturing Eurobonds. The Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debts expected to revert in 1 week. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has rejected a bill currently before the United States Congress, which seems to suggest that Nigeria's security crisis is religiously motivated or state-sponsored. The bill was introduced in the United States Congress on March the 11th this year with a resolution to express the sense of the Congress regarding the need to designate Nigeria a country of particular concern for engaging in and tolerating systematic, ongoing and egregious violations of religious freedom and for other purposes. Our National Assembly correspondent, Terry Kumi, has this report.
Lawmakers in the Green Chamber collectively sponsor a motion of urgent national importance presented by the Deputy Speaker.
Was introduced in the United States Senate.
The motion highlights that a bill titled the Nigeria Religious Freedom Accountability Act of 2025 was introduced in the United States Senate, seeking to require the U.S. Secretary of State to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern and to impose sanctions on Nigerian officials under Executive Order 13818, alleging violations of religious freedom.
Speaker, the House is concerned that external legislative action based on incomplete or decontextualized assessments risks undermining Nigeria's sovereignty, misrepresenting facts, straining strategic relations, and unintentionally emboldening violent actors.
Lawmakers argue that Nigeria does not have a religious crisis and prompt action must be taken to ensure the bill does not pass in the U.S. Congress.
It has been read twice on the floor of the Senate and referred to a committee as we speak. And if we do not take urgent steps to nip it in the bud and it passes the Senate, to reverse it will take us a longer time and cost us even more resources.
In the Congress in the U.S., a subcommittee of the Foreign Affairs had been on this matter, and they conducted a public hearing. I need to give this information. They had a public hearing. Mr. Speaker, they denied Nigerian mission and Nigerians' audience and participation.
The country of particular concern is a U.S. government policy on countries that are very strategic and very sensitive in world politics and world energy security. Today, the action of Nigeria can turn the history and the dynamics of energy in the world.
While the House condemns all forms of violence and persecution against any person or group on the basis of religion or belief, it mandates its relevant committees to interact with the Foreign Affairs Ministry to within 21 days lodge a formal diplomatic démarche to the sponsors of the bill and relevant U.S. committees, transmitting empirical data and Nigeria's official position. In the meantime, the House has considered and approved an infrastructure motion for Kogi State.
Roads in the Jumu local government area allegedly awarded to Dangote Cement under the tax credit scheme 2 years ago has completely collapsed due to heavy-duty trucks, traffic, commuter from southwest, south-south axis, detour through Ekiti and Ondo State, turning a 30-minute trip into 2 hours, 30 minutes journey.
The House also passed a resolution to investigate the Federal Scholarship Board's alleged abuse of process, breach of terms of engagement, and failure to pay scholarship stipends to Nigerian students in diaspora. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
While Nigeria's fight against insecurity continues, the Nigerian army is already appealing for public support. Now, the commander of the Nigerian Army Cyber Warfare Command, Major General Mohammed Abdullahi, made the appeal when he represented the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, at the opening of the Directorate of Army Public Relations Combined Third and Fourth Quarters Media Training Seminar in Abuja.
It is a gathering of security experts and journalists as the Department of Army Public Relations holds its third and fourth quarter training and seminar for media practitioners and public relations officers from different security agencies. Today's dynamic security environment, misinformation, fake news and artificial intelligence-driven disinformation posing so much threat with enemy propaganda is the reason for the seminar.
We must counter with verified facts, replace propaganda with truth, and ensure that the Nigerian public is accurately informed. This calls for professionalism, ethics, and patriotism from all media stakeholders. The Directorate of Army Public Relations remains committed to ensuring access to timely, credible, and verifiable information that enables responsible reportage while safeguarding national security and interests.
Represented by the commander of the Nigerian Army Cyber Warfare Command, the Chief of Army Staff harps on the need for responsible and balanced reportage as key to strengthening public confidence and sustaining operational success.
As security challenges evolve, so too must our strategies for managing information and shaping public perception. We must embrace the fact that public support is not optional, but a strategic necessity to all our operational efforts across theaters. The media has always been indispensable in shaping public opinion on our activities through factual reportage, and this has in turn contributed significantly to our civil-military cooperation drive.
With the theme Enhancing Responsible Media Reportage of Nigerian Army Operations in a Joint and Multi-Agency Environment for Enhanced National Security, the Army Chief believes that modern warfare is no longer fought on the battlefield alone, but also in the information domain where perceptions, narratives, and public confidence determine strategic outcomes.
Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court Abuja has adjourned the trial of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, on alleged terrorism to October the 16th. Now, the trial was adjourned following the inability of the Nigerian Medical Association, the NMA, to present its report on the health status of Mr. Kanu to the court. Justice Omotosho had at the least adjourned date ordered the NMA president to constitute a board of medical experts to carry out investigations on the alleged deteriorating health of the defendant. The NMA president is to also report to the court whether the medical facility at the DSS headquarters can cater for Mr. Kanu, or it should be moved to a private ward at the National Hospital. At the day's proceeding, counsel to the federal government, Suraj Saad, informed the court that the medical board had contacted them saying the report was not ready for presentation. He therefore applied for a week adjournment to enable the NMA medical board conclude its investigation. Following no objection to the adjournment request, Justice Omotosho then fixed October the 16th for the board to submit its report. In part two, after the break, Lagos High Court to rule on admissibility of EFCC's digital evidence in former CBN Governor Gordon Emefiele's trial tomorrow, Thursday, October the 9th. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Troubled by escalating violence in Kwara South, the Senate summons the Minister of Defense, the Chief of Army Staff, and the Inspector General of Police to explain government's countermeasures. The House of Representatives rejects a U.S. congressional bill implying Nigeria's insecurity is religiously driven or state-backed. The World Bank estimates that 139 million Nigerians live in poverty despite positive outcomes from government's macroeconomic reforms. And former FBI Director James Comey pleads not guilty to charges of lying to Congress and obstructing investigations. The World Bank has estimated that about 139 million Nigerians are living in poverty in spite of the positive outcomes of the government's macroeconomic reforms. The bank also raised concerns over the nation's food inflation rate, increased allocations from the Federation Account Allocation Committee, and what it calls a shock-responsive safety net system to help households manage crisis. Speaking during the presentation of the National Development Update Report, the World Bank Country Director, Mr. Matthew Verghese, explains that addressing the issues raised will pave the way for development across all levels.
Nile University Ministry of Justice, Nnamdi.
The Nigeria Development Update is a biannual World Bank report series. The second session for the year is bringing together experts from the finance sector, development partners, members of the private sector, and government officials.
A three-pronged strategy.
The World Bank Country Director gives a summary of the report.
Despite these stabilization gains, many Nigerians are still struggling. Most households are struggling with eroded purchasing power. Poverty, which started to rise in 2019 due to policy missteps and external shocks, including COVID, has continued to increase even after the reforms. In 2025, we estimate that 139 million Nigerians live in poverty.
The report, which is titled From Policy to People, Bringing the Reform Games Home, notes progress in economic growth, domestic revenue mobilization, monetary policy, and external balances, while underscoring persistent challenges such as high food inflation, widespread poverty, and structural barriers that constrain inclusive growth. According to the NDU, Nigeria's economy expanded by 3.9% year-on-year in the first half of 2025, up from 3.5% in the same period of 2024. The report also highlights other economic indices such as rising food inflation and FAC allocations, which must be checked.
What we're seeing is that inflation is going down, which is good news. I think where more effort, and as Matthew mentioned, that needs to be done is on food inflation. So that food inflation is still high and need to be tamed down because it's basically the biggest tax on the poor.
A panel session that included Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State and the Minister of Finance considered the report and provided some responses.
In a country that has empathy, that is a modern economy and a democracy, it is critical to be able to identify those that need extra help at any time. And with a robust register that we have and methodology for payments, the intention and the aspiration must be that every year in the budget you identify an amount that you can use to help those people.
Every local government, our 13 local government also in Nasarawa State, every one of them is engaged in agriculture. So we have 13,000 hectares. One of them may have only 300 hectares, the other one may have 500, the other one may have 1,000, and they are doing one kind of crop or the other, because we are looking at this sustainability, and we are applying technology to it.
We are doing everything possible to get inflation down, because as that is going down, the market signaling to the MPR will continue to go down. So when that goes down, lending rates become more affordable, so to speak. Clearly, there will be a flight to safety, so the banks will invest in government instruments. And of course, as you know, that has also been useful in getting in the FPIs that enable us to stabilize the FX rates.
The report is expected to serve as a guide for government at all levels to identify areas of concern as well as correct them in the interest of national development.
The Special Offences Division of the Lagos High Court sitting in Ikeja has fixed Thursday, October the 9th, to deliver a ruling on the admissibility of some critical digital evidence presented by the EFCC in the ongoing trial of the immediate past governor of the CBN, Mr. Godwin Emefiele. Justice Rahman Oshodi fixed the date after listening to a heated exchange between lawyers involved in the case over the authenticity and certification of documents extracted from a previous witness, and the former executive assistant to the CBN governor, Mr. John Adetola. The exchange followed the continuation of the testimony of an EFCC operative, Alvan Guruman, led by the EFCC counsel, Rotimi Oyedepo, a senior advocate of Nigeria. The witness detailed the digital trail uncovered during the commission's investigation. Now, the evidence presented included WhatsApp conversations between key individuals in the case. There were chats with Mr. Eric Ebo, in which instructions were allegedly given to deliver $400,000 to the former CBN governor. And the witness testified that the amount was set to have been delivered, but efforts to trace and interview the elusive Mr. Ebo are still ongoing. Staying with the courts, and this time a high court in the Federal Capital Territory has been told that no banking regulation was breached in the withdrawals of funds by the Government House Administration on the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello. A witness of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mrs. Williams Abimbola, said that her bank, the United Bank for Africa, acted within the ambit of the law during withdrawals by one of the defendants in the money laundering charges. The banker, who was cross-examined by counsel to Abdul Salami Hudu, one of the defendants, told the court that none of the withdrawals was above 10 million naira, being the maximum allowed by law for withdrawals. She also mentioned transfers in tranches by one Bello Abdulatif on July the 5th, 2019, but noted on cross-examination that her bank did not breach any regulations in allowing the withdrawals or transfers. The FCC also called its fourth subpoenaed witness, Jesutoni Akoni, a compliance officer with EcoBank. After listening to the examination and cross-examination of the witness, Justice Marian Aneni thereafter adjourned the case to October the 9th for continuation of trial. So let's head to the nation's capital, and Terry Kumi is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Hello, Terry.
Well, hi, Ayo. Now, the federal government has appealed to the Academic Staff Union of Universities to shelve its planned strike, assuring that it is committed to addressing all outstanding demands raised by the union. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the Minister of Education, Dr. Maruf Alausa, says the federal government is already looking into the demands of the union and progress has already been made in the ongoing negotiations between both parties. ASUU had already begun full mobilization of its members in preparation for a possible nationwide warning strike ahead of its 14-day ultimatum, which is set to expire on Sunday next week.
I want to use a medium to talk to our unions. Don't use strike as your first resort. We know you've been patient, but these are issues that happened decades ago, 2 decades ago. But this president, we have a president in the person of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that believes fervently and benevolently in education. And is giving us all the political will to resolve this problem once and for all. And as I've said repeatedly, we will resolve it in an holistic, comprehensive manner, in a manner that is mutually respectful to the unions, to the trade unions, both academic and non-academic. So we're pleading with the unions, both academic and non-academic unions at a tertiary institution, to be patient. This government were sincere, were truthful. We have full, genuine interest to resolve it. And we've shown you this over the last 24 months plus that the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has taken over the country. So please bear with us and be patient. We need to keep our children in school. This is the commitment that the president makes to Nigeria, and he's mandated us to ensure that that promise is met.
Well, the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike has performed the flag-off ceremony of the provision of engineering infrastructure, the outstanding layout within Guzapi and Asokoro districts. Mr. Wike cautioned residents against indiscriminate street naming in Abuja metropolis, insisting that streets and roads should only be named after persons who have contributed to the development of the country. According to the minister, the project, which is another promise fulfilled by President Bola Tinubu, will make the FCT at par with other capitals in the world.
You may be seated.
It's another flag off exercise by the Federal Capital Territory Administration, and this time is the provision of engineering infrastructure to outstanding layouts within Guzape and Asokoro districts. The event, hosted at the behest of the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, attracted past and servant federal lawmakers, top officials, party leaders and other invited guests. The project, totaling 9 kilometers of roads, was awarded in March 2025 and is expected to be completed in 18 months.
The scope of works for this project includes provision of infrastructure to about 24 short roads, totaling about 9.2 kilometers. This infrastructure to be provided also includes earthworks, surface water drainage pipe network, asphalt paved roads, box and pipe culverts, foul sewer drainage network, water distribution pipe network, street lighting, power supply, and telecommunication ducts.
The FCT minister said the project represents the commitment of President Bola Tinubu to the infrastructural development of the FCT.
Something that was not done yesterday, or if previous government took it serious and were committed to make sure our city, our capital city, looks like other cities of the world. By now, we wouldn't have been talking about completing these other layouts. But anytime you wake up, it's your own morning. Now that a new government has come, a new government is established to change the narrative, we have no choice but to continue to support that government.
He also cautioned the chairman of the Abuja Municipal Area Council against indiscriminate street naming and urged residents of the area to cooperate with the contractor.
You don't just wake up because somebody has 2 million naira, he pays to you, then you come and have a name of a street. That is not possible. In cities here, government must know whom are you naming the street after. They don't care because somebody, you don't know where the money comes from. Then you can know very important street. We'll not do that again.
The project is then formally flagged off. The FCT administration assures that these projects being commissioned and flagged off is a testament of the dream of a new and transformed Federal Capital Territory. From Abuja, Victoria Longchan, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria is poised for market comeback as FTSE considers frontier status for reclassification. That's on Business News. Do stay with us. Well, welcome back to the news at 10. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pate, says the federal government is open to deepening collaboration with global health research firm ICVIR to enhance clinical trials and research capacity across Nigeria. He was speaking during a meeting with the leadership of the American company, which focuses on health information technology and clinical research in Abuja.
We never built an ecosystem that was enabling the uptake of clinical research. It will make it easier for you and easier for actors to say, oh guys, these guys are serious. So that ecosystem is what we, as part of our agenda, when we set the value chain, we know that you can only unlock the value chain if it's based on sound science as well. And clinical research, basic research, applied research, clinical research. And one of the first things we did here was to look at the governance of research. The Health Ethics, Research Ethics Committee revitalized it. Had folks that are well-renowned, well-regarded globally, Nigerians and others, to be part of that, so the governance is right.
Meanwhile, the president of the Company for Europe, Middle East, Africa and South Asia, Mr. Alistair Grenfell, is optimistic that the partnership will foster advanced clinical research and position Nigeria as a leader in health innovation and evidence-based medical development in Africa.
We would love to be able to say to our sponsors, we should do more work in Nigeria. We should do more work in Nigeria because the quality is very good, because we have support and backing from the government, speaking quite openly. So I would love to be able to say to our customers, you know, we can speed up your clinical trials, bring patients more quickly if Nigeria is part of the country's selection. What we're trying to do is trying to build more footprint here so that we can bring trials.
Now, there are plans by the federal government to maximize the potential from recycling for job creation as well as attract significant sustainable investment in the green economy. In an announcement by the Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, Mr. John Eno, at a side event organized by the Nigerian Bottling Company during the Nigerian Economic Summit, he explains that government will continue to promote investment-friendly policies for the circular economy to contribute its quota to national development.
On the sidelines of the 31st Nigerian Economic Summit, the Nigerian Bottling Company is hosting a session which focuses on unlocking the potential of the recycling subsector.
This year,
the Minister of State for Industry, John Owaneno, pledges his support to ensure that the potential in the sector is achieved through improved policy drive by the government.
Where what we used to call waste yesterday is becoming something useful today, is becoming an opportunity, where the environmental challenges are transformed into new engines for new industries. So those words, recycling, sustainability, all those words will now continually be our catchphrase going forward in terms of the growth of industry.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister.
The conversation then moves to a panel discussion.
Can you tell us some of the ongoing sectors?
The potential of the subsector formed the basis for the conversation during the plenary session, with a focus on how deliberate efforts by the government and the private sector will benefit the nation.
Through CBN and development and other development banks, to set up a circular manufacturing funds. We must get it right to ensure that circular economy is captured as a growth factor for the Nigerian economy. When that is done, the Federal Ministry of Finance will have no choice but open a financial stream that goes into that economy.
According to the World Bank, Nigeria currently generates at least 32 million tons of solid waste annually. This number is projected to rise to 107 million tons by 2050, much of it ending up on streets, drainage systems, and dump sites.
The prospects, not just for wealth creation, but for job provision and all of that, they are huge, they are enormous, and I think that remains the future as the global economy and the global trajectory talks about green economy, green manufacturing. That's the extent to which the enormity of this waste to purpose ecosystem has.
Informal waste collection and recycling have emerged as alternative income streams, particularly for low-income earners, youths, and women in view of rising unemployment. The expectation here is that the emergence of the business of waste management will significantly contribute to the nation's economic development.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. It's now over to Willie Bong in Lagos for business news.
Thank you, Terry. Now we kick off with some good news. Nigeria has been added to the FTSE Russell watch list for possible upgrade from unclassified to frontier market status. Now the move follows improvements in foreign exchange operations and easier access for international investors to repatriate funds. Nigeria was downgraded in September 2023 due to severe FX delays and capital repatriation challenges. But FTSE Russell says those issues have now been largely resolved, with market participants reporting smoother FX transactions. Now, with Nigeria now meeting the key FTSE quality of markets criteria, the index provider says it will decide on a potential reclassification at its next review in March 2026. Now, still on markets, the adjustment of capital gains tax to 30% has been raising questions and concerns on possible impact on investor sentiment. The partner, Tax Regulatory and People Services, KPMG, Akinwale Alao, who was a guest on Business Morning earlier today, believes that it is important to broaden understanding on the working of the capital gains tax and those who would likely be affected.
Under the new regime of the Nigeria Tax Act, there is a tax band that ranges from 0% all the way to 25%. So the maximum rate is 25%. And so individuals that have derived capital gains would report those capital gains as part of their chargeable income. And depending on the income band that they fall into, they would be liable to tax. But the highest rate would be at the rate of 25%. And it's also important to note that for individuals, the exemption threshold should really cover most of the individual investors. So any proceed, so disposals of shares that don't exceed 150 million naira in a year, and where the gains derived from those disposals are not more than 10 million naira, those gains will not qualify as chargeable gains, and so they will not be liable to tax. And I think majority of individual investors may fall into that category. And so you may find that, except the very wealthy people, many individuals that play in the stock market may not be liable to tax on the capital gains that they derive from the disposal of shares.
We shift now to energy. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission next says electricity distribution companies collected 564.7 billion naira out of 742 billion naira billed to customers in the second quarter of 2025. Now, next report puts collection efficiency at 76.1%. That's a slight improvement from the previous quarter. Ikeja, Eko, and Abuja discos recorded the highest collection rates, while others struggled with poor metering and customer debts. The regulator says it will keep monitoring disco performance to boost billing accuracy, revenue collection, and service delivery across the sector. Now let's get a check-in on the domestic equities market, which sustained positive sentiments for a third day as the all-share index rose by more than 0.5%. In it, John Mekwa has the details.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, Nigeria's stock market retains the green color at the close of midweek trade. Today, the MTN Nigeria is the driver of that sustenance. We see it open at 450 naira, but closing at 470 naira 90 kobo. That means that each investor has gained 20 naira 90 kobo on each of MTN Nigeria stocks at the close of trade today. We see banking, talking about sectors now, has recovered. So we see First Holdco, GTCo, Zenith Bank, and Accessco. They are back in the gaining table, and so it's up 0.12%. However, consumer goods that was green yesterday, slightly down today. Honeywell Flour, Nigerian Breweries, as well as Champion, they experienced some profit taking, and so we see that counter is in the red. Oil and gas has recovered. Aradel moving the counter this way or the other. Today, we see it gain, and so we see 0.59% in the green for oil and gas. At the close of trade, 459 billion naira was gained, and we solidify ourselves on that level, the 145,000 level, after the market gained 0.5%, and the market cap is at 92.490 trillion naira. So once again, is victory to the bull.
Thank you, Ini. That's a three-day winning streak. We'll see the markets ending in the green. But let's see a snapshot of closing numbers for other major equities around the world. And that's Business News. Is back to Ayotunde for more on the news at 10.
Many thanks, Will. James Comey, the former director of the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, has pleaded not guilty to making false statements to lawmakers and obstructing a congressional proceeding. Mr. Comey's lawyer entered the plea on his behalf in a federal court in Alexandria, Virginia, on Wednesday morning. Here's Simon Pierce with more international news and around the world in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and the US President Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner have joined Gaza peace plan talks between Israel and Hamas negotiators in Egypt. Their arrival comes as a second day of indirect talks ended without tangible results. Trump struck a positive tone as Israelis marked the second anniversary of the October 7th attacks. Hamas says it has exchanged a list of names of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners to be released in a swap deal as key figures arrive in Egypt for a third day of peace talks.
I think there's a possibility that we could have peace in the Middle East. It's something even beyond the Gaza situation. We want a release of the hostages immediately, etc. And so our team is over there now. Another team just left, and other countries, literally every country in the world has supported the plan.
Yep. Hundreds of National Guard troops from Texas have arrived at an Army training center outside Chicago to support U.S. President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. Mr. Trump has branded Chicago a war zone following recent protests against federal immigration officials in the third largest U.S. city. The deployment comes amid opposition from local officials. Illinois' governor has accused the Trump administration of an authoritarian march and said the state would use every lever at our disposal to stop this power grab.
None of that has been made clear. I mean, this is what is so difficult about this moment, is that you have an administration that is just refusing to cooperate with the local authority.
A new flotilla heading for the Gaza Strip with food and medical supplies on board has been intercepted by Israeli forces. The fleet, made up of 9 vessels and 150 people, was stopped in international waters.
You are approaching a blockaded zone.
Last week, Israel's military stopped a 42-boat aid convoy with 479 pro-Palestinian activists on board, including the Swedish climate campaigner Greta Thunberg. Almost all of them have been deported. At least 24 people have been killed and 47 wounded while protesting against Myanmar's military government during the annual Festival of Lights. The military attacked using 2 paraglider bombs on Monday evening as around 100 people gathered in Chwangyu township in central Myanmar for a national holiday. Burkina Faso's military government says it has arrested 8 members of a Dutch-based humanitarian organisation, accusing them of spying and treason. They are 3 Europeans, a Malian and 4 Burkina Faso nationals, among them the NGO's country director and deputy. The international NGO safety organisation, which provides safety information to aid workers, has categorically denied the allegations. The Chadian government has terminated its agreement with a controversial conservation organisation that has the Duke of Sussex on its board of directors. It accused the charity African Parks of failing to curb poaching, ending a 15-year mandate to manage 2 of its protected sites in the African country. The Environment Ministry said African Parks had displayed an arrogant and disrespectful attitude towards the government, failing to cooperate fully with authorities. And 3 passengers have been taken to hospital after a medical helicopter crashed onto Highway 50 in Sacramento in California. A driver on the interstate captured the moment the aircraft came down just yards away. Emergency services said it was lucky the helicopter did not catch fire upon crashing. 1 victim was trapped under the helicopter and had to be rescued with the help of passing drivers who lifted the wreckage.
We were hitting the part of 50 where it starts to dip down low. And as we were doing that, I looked off to the right, and I saw the lights of a helicopter, and it was very, very low, and it was skimming along just above the tree line and above the line of the freeway.
Sudden, just a moment later, the big fireball or the smoke
was right in front of us.
He was able to keep his momentum and clear all those houses to Highway 50 and then find a open spot on Highway 50 where he didn't hit any civilians as well, too. So major credit to that pilot.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Kelly Agiga is here to give us the latest in the world of sports. Kelly.
Many thanks indeed, Ayotunde. Nigeria Super Eagles are in a confident mood ahead of Friday's crucial FIFA World Cup qualifying match against Lesotho. The players are assuring their fans that they know what is at stake and will give their best to ensure Nigeria wins the remaining 2 matches, hoping that other results go their way. We heard 20 players were available for the second training session today in Polokwane, South Africa.
Optimistic. We're always going to fight to the end. We believe. We never stop believing. 2 important games now. Friday the first one, and then afterwards when we get back to Nigeria. But all focused now on Lesotho. Boys are in camp, focused, and spirits high.
Remain calm and do what we have to. I think this is not the first time club or country any one of us have been in high pressure moments. So I think we've got an experienced team to handle this situation, and it's just about making sure we do everything right.
These 2 games are very crucial. But first of all, we focus on the Lesotho one, and then we look towards the Benin one. But the most important right now is the Lesotho one.
Africa's representatives, Nigeria and South Africa, have crashed out of the FIFA Under-20 World Cup currently going on in Chile. Argentina hammered Nigeria's Flying Eagles 4-0 in a one-sided encounter at the Estadio Nacional in Santiago. Goals from Alejo Sarko, Marhe Carrizo and a brace from Matteo Silvetti gave the Argentinas a well-deserved victory. South Africa did not fare any better after losing 3-1 to Colombia despite putting up a good fight. To club football now, former AC Milan manager Sergio Conceição will take over as coach of Saudi Arabian Pro League club Al Ittihad following the sacking of Laurent Blanc. The Portuguese coach, who also won 52 caps as a player, was revealed in a video on social media titled "The King Rules the Game." He has signed a 2-year contract and is the 4th Portuguese to manage the club, the most recent being current West Ham boss Nuno Espirito Santo, who left in 2023. Conceição spent 7 years in charge of Porto, winning the Portuguese league 3 times before moving to Milan in the middle of last season. The Shanghai Masters does it for us here on the World of Sports. I'm Kelly Agiga. It's back to you today.
Many thanks, Kelly. And the main news again. The Senate has summoned the Minister of Defense, the Chief of Army Staff, and the Inspector General of Police to explain government's countermeasures to the escalating violence in Kwara South Senatorial District. The House of Representatives has rejected the U.S. congressional bill implying Nigeria's insecurity is religiously driven or state-backed. The World Bank has estimated that 139 million Nigerians live in poverty despite positive outcomes from government's macroeconomic reforms. And former FBI Director James Comey has pleaded not guilty to charges of lying to Congress and obstructing investigations. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. You have a good day.